Hi, I'm Dr. Ivan Meisner, founder of BNI. Welcome to our video series on the BNI traditions. This is part 6 of BNI's Traditions video series. In this video, I want to talk about tradition number 5. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That is so important. It's a lesson that I've learned over and over again throughout my life. One of the first times I really experienced this in BNI was a visit that I did in Southern California to a chapter. The president called me up and asked if I would come in and help because they were struggling a little bit. The organization was only about a year old, and we didn't even have directors at that time. And so I said, yeah, sure, absolutely, I'd come. And I showed up. I had been there last about 8 months earlier when I kicked off the chapter. And so I was there to help give them some suggestions and advice. And that's what I did. I came in and very tactfully said, hey, I noticed you guys are doing this. You might want to try that instead. And I noticed you're doing this, and you might consider this instead. And at that point, a woman from the audience raised her hand. And I said, yes, you have a question. She stood up and she looked at me and she said, who the heck do you think you are? Okay, she didn't really say heck. She said something else. But you get the drift. Who the heck do you think you are? Coming into our group and telling us all the things that we could be doing better. Well, I don't know about you, but I've been coming here every month for the last 8 months. I haven't seen you. You sashay in here and start telling us all the things that we should be doing differently. Well, I'd like to tell you that I had a really good answer to that, but I can't. The truth is, I don't even remember what my answer was. What I do remember is that whatever I said didn't make it better, it made it worse. It was a melee in that group. Everybody was really upset. At the end of the meeting, the president came up to me and said, thanks a lot, Ivan. You were a lot of help. I felt really bad, but I was also mad because it took me an hour and a half to get there. Going back would take almost 2 hours. They asked me to come out, give them some help, and then they beat me up for my suggestions. And so I spent the first 45 minutes in my car, driving along, grumbling and complaining, and bad word as I drove along. And finally, I asked myself a question that I ask when things don't work out right. I said to myself, based on results, how did that work out for you? And the answer was it didn't work out well at all. And so what I did was I pulled out a notepad, and in the stop-and-go traffic of LA, mostly stop, I jotted down a few notes as I drove along. And they all related to this idea that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so what I wanted to do was to start using some techniques that would help me show people that I care. And this is one of the core traditions in BNI. Leadership teams, directors, the more you can apply this tradition in your groups, the more successful you will be as a group. The first is a simple concept that was shown to me many years ago when I was in high school and I was running for student government. And my mother came to me and she gave me a paperweight. And the paperweight said, diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way. She said to me, honey, you're not going to get elected dog catcher if you can't learn how to work effectively with other people. That paperweight still sits on my desk at home today. Diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way. When you find yourself in a situation where there is conflict, and when you have a group like BNI, there's going to be conflict. The more you can show people that you really care, the more successful that you're going to be in dealing with the problem. So I'm going to give you a few techniques that I think will help you in this process. The first is a technique that's been around for many, many years. It's called feel, felt, found. Feel, felt, found. You basically say to someone, you know what, I understand how you feel. So-and-so felt the same way until they found out. Now, a lot of people say to me, no, you can't use that in BNI. These are all salespeople. They're entrepreneurs. They know that technique. Yeah, so don't say feel, felt, found. use different words, use a different phrase. I know where you're coming from. I had a similar experience, or I know people who had a similar experience and then they discovered. It's a technique that shows people that you're engaged in the process, that you're not just telling them what to do, but you're giving them suggestions. It also gives you an opportunity to say, hey, somebody else had that problem, and this is how they handled it. You're not talking about them, you did something wrong. You're talking about how somebody else had a similar experience and how they fixed it. Also, really important, if you're in any position of leadership in BNI, it's very important to remember, don't be a seagull leader. Whether you're a director, whether you're on the leadership team, whether you're the education coordinator, whatever position of leadership you have, don't be a seagull leader. What's a seagull? Like the bird, seagull. What's a seagull leader? A seagull leader is somebody who flies in, dumps on everyone, makes a lot of noise, and flies out again. Don't be a seagull leader. It's important that you remember diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way. When you're dealing with people who are upset, another technique, and I wrote this down in the car as I'm driving along, is repeat back what they have to say. Okay, so as I understand it, your concern is such and such, so that they know that you're paying attention to what they have to say. Here's another one. Ask for permission to give them advice. Since I wrote this down years ago and have been applying it, I've never gone into a group where somebody asked me to come and then I said to them, hey, are you open to some suggestions? I've never had them say, well, we had you come here, but we don't want your suggestions. Of course they say, yeah, we're open to your suggestions. There's something magical about asking for permission to give them feedback. And as you hear these problems, repeat them back. Here's another technique. I believe I call it the 5 magic words of customer service. How can I help you? How can I help you? It's a great phrase to use when you're talking to people who aren't happy about something. How can I help you? One of the things I discovered is that many times people just want you to know about it. People say to me, I just wanted you to know. Great, I appreciate it. Sometimes they want something that you can't do, but more often than not, the request is very reasonable. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. These are techniques to use to show people that you care. BNI is a people organization. It's a relationship organization. It's important that you interact effectively with other people. When you run into challenges and you're talking to somebody, ask questions. Do active listening. Can you explain that? You want to tell me a little bit more about that? Wait a minute, I don't understand that. Can you describe some more with that? Or what happened next? Active listening. I used to have a customer service sheet that I would put in front of me whenever somebody called upset. And the first thing it said was, shut up, Ivan. Shut up. Listen to what the person said. By the way, that was also number 5 and number 9 on the list. Shut up. Pay attention. Listen to what people are saying. I'm going to give you another technique that I think is absolutely critical for your success in dealing with any challenges that you might run across in a BNI group. It's called a solutions focus technique. It comes from Dr. Mark McCurgow, a good friend of mine who wrote the book Solutions Focus. If you have a chapter where somebody has a problem, similar to what I had in Southern California, where I went in and people were saying, I got this problem and this isn't working. Ask the group on a scale from 1 to 10, how bad is it? Give me a ranking. With 10 being, things are great. They couldn't be any better. 1 being, couldn't possibly be any worse. It's worse than I ever imagined. It would never, ever get worse than that. 1 being bad, 10 being good. On a scale from 1 to 10, how bad is it? And get their answer. Interestingly enough, most people usually say 3 or 4. So when they give you a number and they say 4, here's your response. 4. Why so high? Now they're going to look at you and go, well, what do you mean, why so high? That's low. It's a 4. You say, yeah, no, I get it, but why did you say 4 and not 3? Why did you say 4 and not 2? Why did you say 4? What's working okay that would make it a 4 and not a 3 or a 2 or a 1? And then they'll give you some reason why this piece of the group is working. And then go to other members that are there and you say, well, what's working for you? And you start getting other answers. And you know what's most amazing about this technique? Is you end up getting a list of all the things the group needs to do in order to be successful. It is a solutions focus. When you focus on the problems, you tend to get more problems. When you focus on the solutions, you tend to find solutions. The truth is, the chapters, for the most part, really understand what it takes to be successful. And if you can engage them by getting them to be part of the process of determining the issues and determining how to solve them, you're going to be much more successful. Diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way. Last thing that I want to mention in this section is the use of membership committees. The membership committees are the heart of a BNI chapter. They are the quality control department of a BNI chapter. It's very important that if there are problems in a BNI group, that you go to the membership committee and work with that group of people. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's something you have to work on. It's something that you have to live. You can't pretend to care. You've got to really care. One way to show that you really care is that when you are talking to people, to say to them, hey, you know what? I care about the success of this group. I care about your success. I want you to do well. Sometimes it begins with just telling them that you care. This is Dr. Ivan Meisner, founder of BNI. Thanks for watching.